Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This week, as voted by our patrons, we share our visit to HAILES Abbey. Founded by Richard the Earl of Cornwall, this former Cistercian abbey nestles in the gorgeous countryside of Gloucestershire in England. Join us as we wander the once centre of monastic life. These tranquil ruins are now the perfect place to relax and enjoy a picnic in a unique historic setting. And we uncover the stories of the monks who lived and worshipped at the abbey for nearly 3 centuries. Richard the Earl of Cornwall founded the abbey in 1246. He was the son of King John and brother to Henry III. Legend of how HAILES Abbey came under his possession is that it seemed that Richard was once tormented by a terrible storm during a voyage at sea. In desperation, he swore a vow to found a religious house if he ever survived. He remarkably did survive the incident and kept to his vow. He was granted the manor of HAILES by Henry, and there established an abbey with the help of Cistercian monks from the Abbey of Beaulieu in Hampshire. Remarkably, the work of building the abbey was completed in only 5 years, and in 1251 Henry III, Queen Eleanor of Provence, and 13 bishops attended the blessing ceremony. In around 1270, the abbey acquired a vial said to contain the blood of Christ. Possession of such a potent religious relic was just what the abbey needed to ensure its financial health. A special extension to the east end of the abbey church was built, and there the vial was kept in a special shrine. With the vial in its possession, HAILES became one of the most popular destinations in England for religious pilgrims. But after the dissolution of the monasteries destroyed the abbey in 1539, the blood was announced to be a mixture of saffron and honey. Relics played an important role in medieval belief and worship. They provided physical, tangible reminders of the saints and the assisted people in their devotions. Relics were also believed to offer physical protection, and many had miracles attributed to them. The most prized relics of all were those associated with the Christ's suffering during the Passion, including the blood that he shed on the cross. Our first set of buildings is the low foundations of the West Range. When it was first built, it actually provided the majority of the accommodation for the lay brothers. HAILES was a Cistercian abbey that initially served 2 monastic communities, the first being monks who could read and write Latin and who sang 8 services each day, and the other community were the lay brothers who served their God with their labour and generally had simpler and shorter services. Interestingly, they acted as a go-between within the outside world for the monks. Their refectory was on the left of the passageway, and plenty of storerooms to the right. Their dormitory and place of sleep was above on the upper floor. The lay brothers worked in the fields and tended the livestock, allowing the abbey to be self-sufficient. Then we make our way around the remains of the kitchen and the refectory. The refectory was the place where the monks ate together as a community, and they only ate 1 cooked meal each day, which was served in the late morning. The rule of St. Benedict forbids the eating of 4-legged animals, so the meals were often vegetarian. Their diet was usually based on a thick vegetable soup, together with coarse bread. But on special feasts they were allowed eggs and fish, and nearby pressed wine would have been made too, although the main drink was locally brewed beer. There are plenty of nooks in the walls of the refectory. These were mainly storage cupboards used for storing table linen and the spoons that were used during the mealtime. The sheer size of the refectory would have been very impressive back in its heyday, and covered by a high timber roof. of the buildings in the area are now part of the South Range and heavily ruined. Although only parts of the facade stand at the first floor level, we walk past what's known as the lava, which was in the middle of the warming room and the entrance to the refectory, which we just visited. The lava was where the monks would wash their hands before they ate their food, and the occasional spot where the abbot had his feet washed by one of his people, reenacting Christ's washing of the feet, as he displaces an act of love towards one another. The next doorway we go inside is the monks' day room. The large space was covered by a stone vault that's supported by central rows of piers. The room was used by the monks usually for copying manuscripts and carrying out some significant activities, like sewing, bookbinding and metalworking, again showing how self-sufficient they were. Inside of the west wall is a double cupboard. This was more than likely used to store the monks' work tools. Later on, in the Middle Ages, the monks expected a much higher level of comfort and privacy, and the dormitory would have then had dividers into their own private cubicles. Again, running east from the day room was the monks' latrine. This was a two-storey building, with the upper storey being used for night use, and the lower one being used for the day room, or from the other buildings in the cloisters. Whilst having a look around, you can see the latrine's working drainage system, an impressive feature of medieval engineering. The parlour was in the south of the all-important chapter house, and was the only room in the monastery where the monks were allowed to speak with one another, although the conversations they had were limited to subjects that were necessary about the daily life of the abbey. The room was open at both ends to discourage the monks from lingering, and it also served as a passageway to the infirmary. Finishing around the beautiful abbey ruins, we see a glimpse of the chapter house. This was important to the monastery because every morning the monks would be gathered there to listen to the readings of their rules, and it was a place where the monks would confess their sins and receive punishments, as well as discussing business ventures and receiving important guests. Other rooms in the abbey include the library and the infirmary, as well as the large and impressive church. Inside the small museum that's attached to the abbey are examples of medieval floor tiles, vaulting bosses and other carved decorations, which honestly I highly recommend people visit. And also a quick visit into the gift shop. Finally we head into the little church, across from the road from the ruined abbey, which had much of the abbey inside it. Small as it seems from the outside, the interior is high and spacious, a concentrated version of medieval and pre-Reformation religious life. I was blown away when visiting this small stunning church. The medieval tiles and graves of those in the past lay peacefully here, as do the incredible wall paintings that we're lucky enough to still see today. The exterior of the church leaves you wondering what's inside, but in my opinion, this church is one of the most beautiful I've seen to date. It really left an impact on me. The interior is a trip back in time. On the southern wall is a faint wall painting of a scene of a huntsman and 3 hounds chasing a hare. Moving inside the chancel, you can see further paintings such as the repeated crests and symbols, including a castle and an eagle, which was a symbol of Richard the Earl of Cornwall. All of these heraldic symbols are also found in the ruins of the Abbey. Worth a visit, as it's just across from the Abbey itself, and it makes for such an interesting visit. The Abbey is located 2 miles north-east of Winchcombe in Gloucestershire, with plenty of free parking around 20 metres from the entrance. The site is owned by the National Trust, but it's maintained by the English Heritage, and you can go on their website to see their up-to-date prices. A visit here just reminds you of the beauty that still exists from hundreds of years ago, and that we're so lucky to be able to explore. So we hope you've enjoyed our visit and our take on HAILES Abbey, and we hope that you're encouraged to go visit too. Please be sure to hit that like button, consider subscribing or joining our Patreon and channel memberships to have your say in what you want to see from us. We want to say a big thank you to our channel members and to our Patreons for all of their support. We'll see you in the next one. Till next time.